Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Loyal. We're joined tonight by special guest, former Soccer AM star Rocket.
Evening, gents.
Welcome, Rocket. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jack. Good. Thanks, Saty. Good to see you
Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming
on.
on. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'd like to go straight into it with our guests. And if you don't mind, we're going to ask you a few quick fire questions, sort of ease you into it if you like. But yeah, do you want to start us off?
Yes, so we'll go through it. So you're well known as Rocket, but we'd like to know what is your real name and where did the nickname come from?
Mate, honestly, the amount of times I've been asked this question is ridiculous. You know what? Do you know what the strange thing is? A lot of my close mates still aren't sure of my proper name because I've been called Rocket since the age of 6 years old. A lot of people thought that, Soccer AM gave me the nickname, but actually I went with the name already there, the nickname. And it's not the most exciting story, but I played in a football team at about under sixes, under sevens. Can't remember what age exactly, but we had five. My real name is James. We had five Jameses in our team. So our manager would shout, "James!" We'd all look round.
Yeah.
Nightmare. It's not working.
Here we
What
go.
do we do? So we decided to just divvy up nicknames to the lads. And one lad got Vinny because he played like Vinny Jones, bit of a big lad, tough lad. He's still called Vinny today, strangely. I got Rocket because I was the quickest runner in the team. I was a sprinter back in the day. And then it was Jimmy, Jamie, and James.
So classic James name sort of thing. But yeah,
two of us got nicknames that stuck. And the funny thing is, I went to my secondary school with half of my football team. So everyone in my team was already calling me Rocket when I went to school. So when I got in trouble at school, straight away on the whiteboard, it wasn't James. It was Rocket. Staying late. Like teachers, man, honestly, my parents, even now, like all my parents, it's Rock.
No, I was going to ask you, what about your family and your partner, for example?
I'll tell you what, this one person, my auntie, who refuses to call me, she actually called me Jamie. So, do you know what I mean?
Good. And on that, you said you played when you were growing up. Was you a particular position, or do you have a particular style? Was it just pace?
I was left back. I left back in
yeah, decent.
Yeah, I liked that actually because I liked. My dad played like left back, left wing, and he'd take me into the garden and we'd just practice slide tackles and tackling. Like that was the most that's what he wanted me to nail. Like was just how to tackle someone. So we'd spend in the garden with him, just going right, come at me, try and get the ball off me. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed playing left back because on the odd occasion it meant that I could overlap and go on a run, sneak in the back post, get myself a tackle.
I'm a left-footed left back myself, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, left footer. It just made sense, left footer. Not the best in front of goal. Stick him at left back.
Yeah. He's got a left foot.
I did all right. I didn't play like semi-pro or anything, but I made it into the league representative team with Steve Sidwell and Leon Britton. So Steve Sidwell, Chelsea, Arsenal, Leon Britton, Swansea. So had some decent lads, but I wasn't at their standard or ability.
No, that's right.
Eventually, but I do love my football.
Good. And on that, I know we spoke briefly before, but do you have a team that you follow or support?
Yeah, I'm a United fan, closet United. Used to go and watch Brentford for a few seasons, but my old man was a big Red, 40 glory years, and it was like, look, you're a United fan, not this family.
No choice.
So I get a lot of stick for it being a Southerner, and rightly so. But the funny thing is, I married a Man City fan, and she was like big football. And when I first met her, I knew that she was proper City. There was no way she's going out of a dirty red. So I told her I was a Brentford fan. At that time, like I'd kind of been to the games, but I wasn't. I was United. But I waited 3 months into the relationship to drop that bombshell, and by that point,
too late.
Yeah,
very good.
Oh, perfect. Obviously, throughout your time on TV, you've obviously met a lot of famous people. We'd like to know who's the most famous person in your phone book.
Most famous person in my phone book. See, my job wasn't actually booking guests, so I've not got like many. I've got Russell Brand is one that I've got in there. I've got John Terry. Who else have I got? I'll have a quick look if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
We won't ask you. We won't ask you to call them. Don't worry.
Yeah. Going through them now. Oh, Beef Andrew Johnson, golfer.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
Got who else we got? Tony Bellew,
Yeah.
Billy Wingrove, Bobby Zamora.
You got a few. You got a few. Then.
I'm onto the bees already.
Yeah.
That's quality.
So there's a few in it. Jamie Carragher.
Nice.
Yeah, Jamie Redknapp, probably some of the biggest, but yeah, Tubes probably.
Yeah, that's quality. Thank you very much.
And most embarrassing moment on live TV
Mate,
for yourself.
There's been so many. The amount of times, right? See, I wasn't an actor, or like I was just a kid off the street that got lucky, got an opportunity, got work experience, got in, and they would make me do some horrendous stuff. Like dressing me up as a girl, making me come out as Sonia from EastEnders. Trumpet. Oh my god, remember that? That was horrendous. It wasn't that bad doing that because I just come out as a wig. I'd do the line. You got Martin. You got to take responsibility for your baby, and I was off. Right, job done. Everyone would smile.
Yeah.
The worst thing was we had Natalie Cassidy on the show.
Right.
They made me do it in front of Natalie Cassidy, and she was just like deadpan, just like
nothing.
Nothing. She actually said to me, "Can you stop standing next to me? Can you stop standing next to me?" Because I was dressed as her with the trumpet, and I was like, "Oh, what have they done?" But honestly, lads, the amount of times that I died on that show, where I have to do a gag that was just not funny, and everyone, and it was just a tumbleweed moment. But Tim always used to say, like, it doesn't matter. We will laugh at you. It will be funny.
Yeah.
Even
it's good for you lot.
We will get behind you, and we will make sure that you're not alone out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but there were too many.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And the final one of the quickfire questions is: you're the dream athlete to interview or work with in the media, or someone you have never worked with but you'd love to do.
Do you know what? I've never met Bex. David
Really?
Beck. Never met him.
Yeah.
He's the only one really that I've been like, oh, I'd love to meet Bex just because he's such an icon.
Yeah, of course.
And I reckon he would have probably watched Soccer AM at some point growing up. So it'd have been interesting to have a sit down with him. But yeah, other sports stars, Ronaldinho. I'm a big fan of Ronaldinho. Just to love the way that I love his flair and that he played with a smile on his face. I like players like that. Andre Chelsea is another player that used to kind of be. I was quite like that when I played. I'd always be like taking the piss out of my position, and laugh, and wouldn't take it too seriously. Obviously, I would take it seriously to the point where I'd want to win tackles, win, but I'd still kind of have a joke and a laugh, and
of course,
I nutmeg them and stuff like that. Get my legs nearly broken, but Ronaldinho and Bex, I reckon, is on that my two.
Perfect,
nice.
Right, so you mentioned there earlier that you were just a kid with a bit of work experience that got lucky on Soccer AM. Can you tell us a bit how that journey came apart? Did you apply for the role? Did your school give it to you, or how did that happen?
I was in year 10. I was in year 10 at school, and the school divvied out work placements for all the kids. And I got 2 weeks in an ice cream van. And I was like, I'm not even into ice creams. Like, what's that going to benefit me in any way? So I was like, thanks for that, but I'm going to apply for my own. And I drafted a letter with the help of my mum at that age because my spelling wasn't the best. Attached a picture of myself, made it a bit colourful, and just said like what shows I was into, a little bit about me, and like what I wanted to do, and sent it out to like ITV, Meridian, Channel 4, Ginger Production, like loads and loads of production companies. And Sky Sports were the only one that came back with an answer and said, look, don't normally accept students under 16. I was 15, but we like your letter. Come along, do 2 weeks in the edit suites. So I did my 2 weeks watching people edit cricket and tennis. And it was quite boring, if I'm honest. And then on the last day, I met Lovejoy, Fenners, Helen, Sheephead, all the old Soccer AM crew. They were coming up with some new ideas for the new season. And I offered up some ideas. Said, what about this? What about doing that? There was one idea that they were doing Helen's box every week. They were going to dive into Helen's box and pull something out. And I said, and I was only 15. I went, you could do Helen's big chest. And each week, and Lovejoy was like, kid's 15 and he's bringing ideas to the table. And then he asked if I wanted to work for free during the summer, which I just was like, I love the show. And then that was it, really. I was in, and I was making teas for the likes of Noel Gallagher and just like proper pinch me moments as a kid. I'm still at school, and I'm rubbing shoulders with these A-listers and appearing on TV, and it just snowballed from there, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like you said, you're a young lad who's, like you said, making tea, and there's bloody the Gallagher brothers or someone standing next to you, like, man,
it's crazy.
Yeah, all on that with Soccer AM, and you moved into that role. Do you remember your first live show? You might not necessarily been doing a sketch or skit at the time, but was there a moment you like, this your first live show, like, oh, I'm here, this is it?
There was. I do remember my first live show. It was in a tiny little studio, like it was tiny, and there had 3 cameras in there, and the cameras literally had to kind of pivot on, like, there was no room, so we'd have the sofa on one end, and then over the other side we'd have these lockers that we used to come out and do sketches and stuff. But I was obviously nowhere near that when I first started. It was just kind of watching how it all like evolved, and then after a few weeks, Tim said to me, "Do you want to be on the show?" And I was like, I don't know.
Do I?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a go. I was absolutely shitting it. And all I had to do, we had Nick Moran on from Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. And it was, Tim used to do a magic trick every week. And this magic trick was, he had a cylinder around his arm, right? And you had a spike, and you basically put the spike through the cylinder, and it had a tube inside. So it missed the arm and came out the other side. And they put blood capsule in there. So when it went through, it looked like it was dripping with blood. Anyway, he was about to do this trick on Nick Moran. And then he said, we obviously got to test it out. We always test it out on the work experience. We tested it out on Rocket earlier. And I had a bandage with a red dot there and a red dot there. I had to say, please, sir, not again. That was my line. All right, that was it. Anyway, I said it, did it, got a bit of a laugh, not much. And then they went, oh, it was good. We want to do it again next week. So they did another magic trick, this time with Noel Gallagher, funny enough. But they were going to cut off one of his fingers with this guillotine. And then I had to do the same line, please, sir, not again, with my finger bandaged up. And then that was it. And then suddenly I got given Lobster Boy as a character and came out with the balls dressed as a lobster and the lobster, fish. And then all the roles started to come, and it was like, right, Rocket can do it. Let's get him in this. Let's dress that. And I was like,
did you feel like you're getting picked on, or was it all part of it? You just loved it?
There were times where it was dressed up as banter, and I was oh God, they're literally just ridiculing me on the show. But after the show, it was all kind of like, I'll stick an arm around you, and you were part of the gang, so you kind of took it. Well, I took it. But I didn't mind it. I kind of actually learnt to embrace it and welcome it, and because it was kind of funny. If I was making people laugh, then, you know, even if it was at my expense, as long as I was brightening someone else's day and putting a smile on my face, I didn't really take myself too seriously at that age. I like to have a bit of a joke, so that definitely helped.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you finished school, did you then start at Soccer AM full time after you'd done that, and then did you snowball from there and you went your first official role, and so, like you said, your bit part things?
Yeah, no, I had a couple of jobs prior to actually going to Soccer AM full time. Worked as a party organizer at a leisure centre, worked in a bar, did a waiter's job. But it wasn't until after college, when I reached 18, that they offered me a full-time job. And it wasn't actually a job with Soccer AM. It was a job at Sky Sports as an office runner. So my job was to go and sort the post out, go divvy up all the letters, clear edit suites of tapes. Don't have tapes anymore, so old I am. Do all the kind of dog's body work that I wanted to do at 18. And then a year later, I managed to get on board with Soccer AM full time as like props, doing props. So ordering wigs, sorting out costumes, doing teas, stuff like that. You know, just kind of props work.
Yeah. When you so like you said, you got into Soccer AM. What was you sort of mentioned it before, but what was your first sketch? Sort of you're on your own. This is all you.
Just probably Lobster Boy. When I came out dressed as the lobster, that was my first. It wasn't really a sketch. I can't really remember the first sketch. That was kind of being a character. First proper sketch. It probably was the Naturists. I don't know if you remember the Naturists, but 3 of us used to dress up. Well, undress matrix, and it was Sheephead would be the dad, Fenners would be the mum, and I would be the kid called Little Dick. And Sheephead would come out with a beard, woolly hat, socks and boots, and nothing else on. Completely starkers. And this is in front of this live telly, right?
Yeah, on a Saturday morning as well.
All he's got is a map covering himself, right? A map. Fenners has got a long wig covering his breasts. He's got he's like that didn't exist, and then he's got a flask, a thermos flask in front of his privates. And his phrase was, "Would you like a coffee?" So Tim would be like, "Would you like a coffee?" And Tim would be like, "No, you're okay." And a lunchbox, a plastic lunchbox. So I'd have the curly wig, hat, boots, socks, and just the lunchbox. But the problem is, like, the lights were so hot in the studio that my hands started to get sweaty. And I could feel the lunchbox slipping. And I was losing. I'm literally live. Back then, we had no delay. There wasn't delay like there is now. There was no delay. What happened went out live, and my hands are just slipping, and like the lunchbox getting lower and lower. And I can hear him in the gallery going, "Tell Rocket to move his lunchbox up. We can see, see the top of his pubes." I was like, "Oh, shit!" So I'm getting the lunchbox. Honestly, can you imagine trying to do that now?
No chance. Absolutely no chance.
And that was my first proper like. That's like welcome to Soccer AM.
You've arrived. Yeah.
Funny.
That's quality. Over your 19 years on Soccer AM, you're involved in many different segments and sketches, like you've just mentioned a couple there. But we'd like to go into a few in a bit more detail, starting off with Skill School.
Yes.
Was that your idea? Was that given to you as a thing to go, here's the ball, go play with it? Or how did that work?
Yeah. No, this was an idea that I'd had for like 2 or 3 years prior to doing it. Because I am a big fan of freestyle football. I did it used to do a little bit. Me and my mate used to just when we just had cars but nowhere to go, no money to do anything. We'd used to park up at a street light, put the tunes on, and just do skills, just pass the ball to each other. So I was quite into freestyle, and I like breakdancing. I like the tunes, I like breakdancing. So I was like, why don't we go to academies? So I pitched this to Tim, but he didn't see it, didn't think it was going to work. So when Tim left, I actually got the chance to do it. And it was just a case of getting 2 lads from academies to battle it out over 3 rounds. Best skill wins. And the producer that took over went, "Go on, give it a go. Go and do it. And if we like it." And then it. The first did the first one, delivered it, and it made the show for about 4 years. I think it ran. Managed to get
on that though. Yeah, you had about to say, go for it. Yeah, you had some good players that now. Fabulous careers, didn't you?
Well, Jordan Henderson is probably the most famous one, but Hendo, Raheem Sterling. There was who else was there?
Was that the Danny Ings one always surfaces as well?
Yeah, Danny Ings
that always comes up.
Yeah, Danny Ings. I forget. There was about 5 or 6 of them. But
did you think was at any point at a time as well you'd go into a group of lads and they'd be starting off and you'd filming it, be like, "Oh, you're actually not that good, mate. You have to give it a rest." Yeah. It
was really hard actually to make it good telly, because I would rock up and all the lads would be buzzing. Like I'd go into the changing rooms and they'd be like, "Oh my god, fucking hell, Skill School, Rocky." All right, lads, who's got the skills then?
Yeah.
They'd all be pointing to because the boys knew who had a bit in their locker, but they weren't always the most confident at coming forward and saying, "I've got a bit." So I would say, "Who's got the skills?" And then this lad go, I'll do it. And I'd be like, "Is he?" Like, I'd be like to the team, decent. Because the amount of times that we would start filming, bearing in mind, I got given like a 45-minute window to film this, if that, sometimes half an hour, because they were still wanting to train with the lads.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So they'd get him in early. They'd give me 35, 40 minutes max. And then I'd start off and I'd go, "Right, lads, we'll do the intro, done the intros, get the shots of their faces." Then it would be a case of, right, round 1, take as many times as you need. We'll only put the best bits in. And then it was quite obvious early on if one of the kids couldn't do it.
Yeah, struggling.
And then I had a really awkward I had to make a call. So I'd be like, "Danny, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do this, mate. Like, your head's gone completely." I'd give him a couple of goes, and then I'd go, "Lads, who's the best?" And they would go, this lad. And I'd have to reshoot the whole intro again.
Oh.
It was horrendous, but I had to do it to make sure I got the best skills
Yeah,
possible.
of course. Yeah, I'll be hopeless at it. So yeah, no, definitely.
But the amount of times that they would come up to me and go, Rocky, we've got this great celebration idea where, you know, matey rolls the ball and we all fall down like bowling pins.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's great. Those ideas are good, but you need the skills to back them up. If
Mm.
you can't do the basics, it's
Mm.
very difficult to do an around the world and then do a bowling celebration.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to ban 3 tricks from skill school. I had to ban catch the ball on the back of your neck and take your shirt off because everyone was doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had to limit the amount of around the worlds because it was just like all I was seeing was around the worlds.
Yeah.
And there was another one as well. But I can't remember what it was. I think it was what was it? Can't remember.
Yeah, it's interesting that you even have to do that, like put little rules in and stuff. You just, like for us that see it, you just like rock up and it's doing the skills and that. But yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Often I would look at the lad's skills and what they could do comfortably. Say if a lad could balance the ball on his head, right? And he's balanced it on his head. But the lad last week could balance the ball on his head.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then I'm thinking, right, this lad just got the skill. How do we make it different? So I'd tell one of the kids to go and get a chair. So he'd run and get a chair. And then I'd get him to balance the ball on his head, stand on the chair, fold his arms, and then fall back into the crowd. So stuff like that. I'd engineer and think of new ways of doing tricks
same stuff
100 times. Yeah. But I love doing skill school. It's great fun, great tune as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was that your choice?
Yeah, I had it on my phone, and I knew that I knew it was perfect for it because it was like diddly shy effects.
Yeah, it was good.
It just built.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was.
It worked well, didn't it? Yeah.
The whole kind of throwing the ball and that, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. Yeah, the classic Rocket, like throwing the ball and just stand there. Quality.
Yeah. Good skills, good stuff, mate. I enjoyed that. It was fun.
Yeah, go on, Tate. You got anything else to add on the skills?
No, that was it. Apart from we noticed that you can always spin the ball on the top of your finger at the beginning of it. Yeah. Is that little party trick of yours you've got?
Yeah, do you know what? Lovejoy used to do it actually before a show, and I always remember looking at him thinking that's so cool. It's such a cool thing to be able to do. It's just so nonchalant when you get it. It just looks cool. So I had a little like this rubber United football that I just used to knock around the house, and I used to just pick it up and practice. But I spin it differently to other people. Most people spin it like that, do it outwards, whereas I can't do that. I have to push it up to get the power. But yeah, it was something that I picked up over about a 6-week period. Or and then I thought, but the thing is, I made life hard for myself because when I went to like Stoke, for example, and it was pissing it down with rain. I'm out there in my stupid little tie and shirt, and I've got the lads. I've done the intro. Then I've got to do Steve. Terry, welcome to Skill School. You know the rules. 3 rounds, best skill wins. Let's get the lesson on. Throw down. But the problem is when it's wet, it's so hard to spin a ball. When it's there's no like I can't get any friction on it.
Yeah.
It's just spinning out of my hand. And then all the boys are like, "Come on, Rocket, come on!" like chirping up, and I'm like, But I couldn't not do it. I had to kind of make sure I did it on every one.
Yeah, brilliant.
You want to see a bit? I know you probably want to see.
If you've got that would be brilliant. But
go for it. Go for it.
I don't, I'm not tough, but I do like that.
Look at that.
So
I'm sure that people watching be loving this. Look at that, like you said, just chilling, no worries.
Don't even look at it. It's
very good.
That's quality.
Very good.
Oh, this is something you'll like as well. This is for the viewers. This is old school. This is a Soccer AM.
Oh yeah.
Is a ball. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember. We used to give them out to the forces.
I do.
They used to the pictures in as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
That's quality.
Soccer AM memorabilia there.
You got a nice little setup, haven't you? There with the canard chair, the few photos and boxing gloves and whatever.
Coming along. It's more for my little boy, to be honest. It's like his extended playroom where he can paint and mess up and play football.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Not going to get shouted
at. The memorabilia was always a thing for me that was always quite cool on the coffee table, and I've sort of copied that in my own flat with a coffee table with some Arsenal memorabilia and other football stuff. But there was one always thing I remember. Obviously, you had the De Gea donuts, because then you walk out of Tesco's without paying for some donuts once, and I Oh, it was the Villa player, Juan Pablo Angel, and they used to always have him on top of the Christmas. My dad always did that. He saw it and he was like, "No, I like that idea." And I remember one year my mum came back from she was out shopping, so my dad had changed it over, and she went absolutely nuts.
I love that.
But who sort of ideas was that? Was that just like kind of you saw something that was like that has to go on there, or?
Yeah, it was a mixture of things. It just kind of happened organically. You know, like there was a pot of gold dust on there, and there was like they had like a train. It was like a train horn thing that they used to blow. Whenever crew were mentioned, they would blow it and they'd shout "Diesel," and then the Venga boys would pop up from behind the sofa and just dance for like 10 seconds.
So good.
Out. It was just like, and if there was a keeper that we'd seen in like the Sunday League or the lower leagues that needed a new pair of gloves because his gloves had holes in, we'd then start a glove like a whip round, like a charity for his gloves, like donate. We'll get him a new pair of gloves, and so a lot of stuff just happened kind of organically with that. But a lot of it was Tim really and Fenners and you know the head honchos that were producing this.
But so we'll see you on a Saturday morning and on Soccer AM on the show and whatever, and you're all making people laugh and doing funny things. But on a Monday to Friday, what was the Soccer AM life like? What was that job? What did that entail?
Well, my job changed as the years went on. Doing props was probably the hardest job I'll ever have because it was so many props when I was doing it, so many costumes and wigs and the tashes, for example. When they hired wigs and tashes from BBC Props, so these tashes would come in. They were tiny, about that big, right? 75 quid a tash, right?
Bloody hell, yeah.
It's so easy to lose.
Yeah.
In a live show, and you're like, so the amount of times that I'd have to go to Tim and go, I've lost 4 tashes. And he'd be like, what? And we were on such a shoestring budget. That was really tough. I remember there's so many costumes and props, and you know, I had a running order of the show, and I had to know exactly when things were needed. If Helen needed a prop for something in this part at this time, I had to make sure it was there, and she knew about it in the break. I had to make Soccerette had a t-shirt. Had to make sure, like, there were so many little things that you wouldn't think about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But if I hadn't done my job, it would be apparent on the show because
definitely.
the item wouldn't be where it should be in the place. And I used to sweat buckets and properly like, oh, I'm gonna get
panic about a little tash, but you know it meant more. Yeah.
But yeah, back to your question, what was the working week like? So we would work Tuesday to Friday. So on Tuesday, we'd have an ideas meeting. Every Tuesday, you had to bring at least 10 ideas to the table.
Really?
Otherwise,
for that show or like for the season?
No, for that show, for that week show. So trying to bring 10 new ideas every week.
That's hard.
We were on air 42 weeks a season. It became very hard. You saw a few ideas coming up from past weeks where you're like, hold up. You mentioned that 3 weeks ago, and why are you bringing it up again? So, so Tuesdays was ideas meeting. Then Wednesday it was like all hands on deck. It was kind of like making calls, booking Soccerettes, booking fans, going through footage. Someone going through the third eye shouts, going through like hours of tapes, trying to just find some woman like spilling her tea or whatever. And then Showboat, we would all have to log games over the weekend, so we'd get divvied up games, and we'd probably have 2 games a weekend, a Spanish game and maybe a Premier League game if you're lucky. You then have to watch those 2 games and log them for nutmegs, taxis, showboats, third eyes. And you
watch the whole game every
game,
oh wow.
Literally pen and paper, just logging it, time code.
Yeah.
21st minute, woman in crowd disappears.
Yeah.
E4, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd have to send all your logs on the Tuesday. So the lads, whoever were digging out the showboats, the third eyes, the taxi, would just get all those logs and they'd be like, right, here's all my taxi time codes. Here's the games. Time to go through them. So then it was like, and as the week went on, more ideas came in. Tim and Fenners were like, we were reacting to what was going on in the news. So, you know, if someone scores their 500th goal or whatever, we've got to do something on that. What do we do? Do we do a gag? Do we send a shirt? So it was those ideas that would come late that Friday nights were killer because we would get in at 10 o'clock in the morning, but sometimes we wouldn't leave. Like I'd sleep in the green room and go out and perform on the show with no sleep. You know, the amount of times that they put us up in a hotel in the end because I lived like 45 minutes away. So the drive on no sleep.
Yeah.
Me.
So definitely.
But yeah, so Tuesday to Friday, and then Saturday show day. So we was all in at like back in the early days. We was all in at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
When I first started, it was a 4-hour show.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a lot longer, wasn't it? And obviously over the years, it's gone down and down.
A long, long time to be live on telly.
Yeah.
But then as the years rolled on, it got cut down and down and down. And yeah, it was graft, hard graft. Because people go, oh, you do Soccer M on Saturday. What else do you do?
Yeah.
I'm part of the production team. Like we're
Yeah.
not. I'm not just going.
That's what I always think as well. That you're Rocket, and you famous through the show, and you've done your little bits, and that were brilliant. But like you said, you were part of the production. You are like Monday, Friday, or Tuesday to Friday. You are working your nuts off, probably trying to get it sorted.
Yeah, it was a lot. There were a few moments where I had a bit of a wobble, and remember saying to mum and dad, "I don't know if I can do this anymore." Like it's really starting to take its toll. There weren't many people in that team that lasted because of the high intensity, the workload, what was expected. It was more of a lifestyle than it was a job. It was like you are part of the team. If we need you, kind of thing. Which actually, what ended up happening is I ended up losing a lot of my mates at the time because every Friday I was working and all the boys would go out Friday night. So what happened was they'd stop calling, stop texting. I was working. I know my mates were at university and they were having these crazy parties, loads of girls and booze, and they're sending me videos, and I'm in an edit suite cutting best League Two goals.
You watch hours of footage you don't even want to look at.
What am I doing? Like these lot are living their best life, and I'm here editing till 3 a.m. the best goals from League Two. But but you know, I knew that eventually it would pay off, or I was hoping it would pay off. All this work, craft, and I was learning so much. There's no experience like learning, like hands-on experience, being in the actual environment, seeing how people do it, how you generate ideas. And that put me in good stead for like the jobs that I've had prior to that, after that.
No, perfect. Another one of your sketches or gimmicks I like to talk about was the hairy strikers. That's one of my personal favourites. And Andy Carroll, and you played Marouane Fellaini.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I even remember when he signed for Man United, I was like, is he going to carry on doing this? But it just made it even better, didn't it?
Yeah. Change shirts. Still.
You said the Tashers cost £75. How much do the wigs cost? Do you lose any of them?
Well, the producers changed, times changed. We weren't getting our props from BBC Wigs anymore. The budget shrunk, it was like a 12 quid wig, I think, from like charities. I'm like fancy shop. So yeah, the wigs and that back then doing Fellaini and that weren't a lot, but it was so odd because obviously he's Belgian. I can't do that. I can't do an accent. I'm not good at accents. They did a whole feature on it about Rocket shit accents. So, there was no way I could carry it off every week. And we'd done it on deck like a few seasons before we decided to change the hairstyle. And we were both Geordies, and we kind of we couldn't do those either, if I'm honest. But I just felt more confident just going, how weird, loads of just being like.
But no, people knew what was going on. But like you said, a Belgian accent's a pretty tough one. So.
It's too hard. So they were just like, fuck it, just make him Geordie.
That made it even better, though, didn't it? Because it was so stupid. That made it so funny. That was why it was good.
Yeah, it was. Although it wasn't funny every week, I do remember. Do you know what it was? Right, I had such a busy week. But also with all of the work that I had going on, my responsibilities were to write the Hairy Strikers sketches. So I had to think about I had to find the gags, and each week, right? Bear in mind that I've got to do a gag. Or no, we would set the guests up for the punchline of a joke. So I've got to find at least 2 jokes every week and an opening gag. So 3 gags I've got to find every week that are funny or make them funny. A lot of the times they weren't funny. But a lot of times I'd be like writing a script before we going out live on air, just trying to get a gag in or
something,
just something. And then we'd go out. some weeks it was brilliant, and I really kind of felt the audience in a lot of the crowd were laughing, and I was like, "Oh, this is going well. This is going." Some weeks I was just like, "Oh, just swallow me up."
Really,
we wouldn't have the right audience in, or I'm blaming the audience. It weren't the audience fault. It was the material that we were using. It wasn't funny. and it was horrendous. But the worst thing is that I used to be in charge of the social media at that point. So I'd have the window to Twitter. So I'd be going through, and if we'd had a good one, it was great because they'd be like, "Oh, Harry Striker's brilliant this week," talk about his accent, whatever, and it was all positive. And then when we'd had shit week, I'm reading these
abuse,
just brutal. Oh no, what am I doing? What are we doing?
But again, though, it's like you said earlier, like you are essentially, you're not an actor, you're not a presenter, you're a regular guy that's worked hard to get to that point, and you're being thrown out into this. It's like,
I know, being ridiculed and just kind of dance monkey, and it's just like, bad.
Did you ever meet Fellaini?
Yeah, go on.
What's that?
Did you ever meet Fellaini?
Yes, I did meet Fellaini when he was at Everton. I went and did a sit-down interview with him. And it was when we were doing what I was doing at that time, funny enough, is that every time he scored, we had the footage, obviously, of him scoring.
Yeah.
Whenever we did the goal wraps, for example, so when we showed the Premier League goals, we'd always end with Fellaini's goal if he'd scored. But we'd show the actual goal from the game, and then we'd cut in me in the same outfit doing the celebration, running around like.
Yeah.
And when I went and met him, he went, "Hey, you! I know you."
Yeah.
He goes. He said he enjoyed it. He said it was funny. So yeah,
that's quality, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned briefly about dancing. Obviously, you can't have a conversation with you without mentioning the dance offs and your incredible record at the dance offs.
Mate, crazy, isn't it? I don't know. I robbed some of those. I got lucky. I cheated my way to a couple of those victories. Thing is, it was so hard to dance off because no one enjoyed doing it. It was one of those things that Lovejoy invented early on, and it was kind of like the humour came with making these middle-aged men dance that don't want to dance, that would never dance on a night out. Club, they're not going to dance, but they're made to dance for 15 seconds. And I come in, and obviously I'm competitive. I want to win, but it was a horrible feeling. I remember it so well. It was like I liken it to kind of jumping out of a plane doing parachute, because there's a row of 12 lads behind the doors, right? Queuing up. And on the stink, everyone's just their asses are going, everyone's nervous. Everyone's looking at each other going, "I've got no moves. What am I going to do? I've got nothing." And then the doors open into the lights and all the smoke. It's your turn. And you go out there and you're just it's just the days. And then suddenly you kind of see the cameras and everyone's just like, And then lady next to the camera just going, giving you a countdown when it's the last 10 seconds, like that. And you're like, "Oh my God, I've still got 8 seconds.
I don't need that."
It's horrendous.
When you did the dance offs and all the rest of it, did you know the music they were going to play, or was it literally in that moment it was right? You got that?
We knew by about Wednesday, we knew what the track was going to be. Sometimes it was good because it was just kind of, it was like the same kind of beat all the way through. So no matter when you came out, you knew you was going to get a good bit of music. But there were some songs where they would just have a lull in the music.
Yeah, and you'd come out.
And if you got the fourth song where the lull happened, because the draw was done behind scenes, in the office, we would draw for your position. How mad is that? A draw for
it's brilliant. That's so good.
Then you'd be you would time it so you knew what was a bad draw. So if you got number 4 and it was the lull in the music where it just goes quiet and then builds up again for the next one, you're coming out to dead air basically.
Yeah.
Just kind of
you got to think of something.
Just
did you practice or did you think before I'm going to do this on the Friday night? Or
the first 4 dance offs, I didn't practice at all. I just went out and just freestyled it, and then I quickly learned that if you don't bring something to the table, it's just going to be shit. So the first year that I thought outside the box and got called a cheat was when I used the Heelys.
I remember them.
The whole pull myself along, and then I was he's fucking got Heelys on his cheating, but they didn't take that one away from me. They did take one away from me, which is where Lovejoy thought I was phoning my own number, which I wasn't. I was because the numbers came up, vote for Rocky, and it's blah 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 06. And I was calling my mum. I was only young, and I was like, "Oh, did you see it? Was it all right?" And he came out, saw me on the phone. He went, "He's calling his own number." the next break, he's gone, I've got some important news. I've just caught Rocket phoning his own number. We're going to have to disqualify him. He got me on the sofa with him. Rocket, you've been caught cheating. He's a dirty cheat. Get off. And then I got the trophy taken away. So should have won 7. But then we got the other ones, which was like coming out on the surfboard. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And the bike.
The human bike one with the fans. That was class, wasn't it?
I just thought I've got to get the fans involved to make it fun. Not dancing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
As the show grew and, like you said, the dance off was happening and things like that, your like personal fame was growing as well. Was that something strange that you had to deal with, or how did you deal with that?
It was weird. I was quite lucky because 99% of it was very warm, and it was like, we love the show. We Rocket, let's have a photo, and it was all very nice. The 1%ers, normally when I'd been out in a football town, like I went to Newcastle once, Southampton. One guy came up to me and just kind of started on me for no reason, just because his mates were there, he was showing off.
Yeah, had probably a drink or two.
Yeah, he was definitely boozed up and whatever else. He was just kind of, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's pushing me, starting on me. It can either go one or two ways. I either get into a fight with him and potentially lose my job. Fight. He's probably, if there's going to be a write-up or anyone's going to get in trouble, it'll be me, not him.
Yeah.
And so I had to grow quite a thick skin and learn to just walk away, which is hard at times when they're saying horrible things. They're looking for a rise.
Yeah.
There was another time I was at Brixton Academy and this guy went, like a couple of skinheads, hard looking fuckers, come up to me and were like, "Yeah, do that love it dance that you do with the." And I was with like a girlfriend that I was seeing at the time, and he was like, "No, do the chimney sweep, the love it." And I was like, "Come on, lads."
Yeah.
I kind of just did it half-hearted. I went, "Yeah, love it." And he went, "No, do it properly."
Oh.
And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I
was like,
trying to enjoy myself here.
So I was just like, So I'm in Brixton Academy going, love it. Head kicked in.
Yeah. It's not something you asked for, though, is it? It's not something you wanted when you signed up. But
no, you don't. It's weird. It's weird fame. Or I wouldn't say I was famous, but had a recognizable face. There were moments where the thing is, right, it's very difficult to say no to someone who wants a photo with you because they clearly enjoy what you do and they think that you're someone that will impress their mates or whatever.
Yeah.
So there were times when I was on holiday with my wife in the early days when we were first going out, and we were in Cyprus or somewhere on holiday, and we sat down. We're having our meal was just literally arrived. We've got our food in front of us, and this big skinhead goes, "Oh, Rocket, come here, I want a photo." And he hands his phone to my wife. And she'd had quite a bit of it already that holiday. And I just saw her face just kind of be like, oh, can we just not have one meal? And I feel for her because I didn't say, no, sorry, mate. I've just got here. We're just going to have I can't do that. I just couldn't be that. I'm going to give her a photo. But there were moments where it was a bit tricky at times. But look, like I say, it was golden and loved it. And everyone was really nice.
Yeah, no, of course.
Just going back to the dance bit quickly, you've got the famous tattoo, haven't you? From all your victories.
That's another thing my missus was fuming at because I didn't really care about it. What happened was, it was the day of the dance off, and I was on the social media doing send us your worst football tattoos, and we were getting some horrendous ones like pictures of Alan Shearer that looked nothing like Shearer, and my job was to show the best ones on the telly. And Helen said, "Rocky, if you win today's dance off, we get 6 stars tattooed on your ass." And I went, yeah, sure, no worries. When you said it, and I was like, yeah. Anyway, won it. And then first thing she said is, "You're going to get your tattoo. And I went, well, we'll see. And then I got probably about 100 emails of people going, "You better get that tattoo, you little prick. You said you were going to get it done. You've got to be man of your word. You can't back out now. You said you'd do it. And I was like, oh no. So I went to a little tattoo parlor in Tottenham, actually, and the guy there did the 6 stars on my ass. I'm not going to show it to you because it's not.
No, don't. It's a family show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a tattoo story.
But on the like people you work with, Helen and even Tubes and names like Baby Elvis and people you mentioned, but there were lots of characters, lots of big personalities. Is that something you think definitely helped the show and helped you as a group?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were lucky. They were lucky in the early days. The fact that they had people like Sheephead, who was brilliant, like that dry northern sense of humor, where he just kind of like deadpan and
Yeah.
very, very good. Fenners as well, one of the best character actors out there. Even now, I still think when he does a character, he absorbs himself into the character. He's so good at it. He's so like he doesn't break character for a second, and he's fantastic. To have those two people, and then the likes of Tubes and myself, and Smithy came a little bit later, Baby Elvis. Yeah, had a good team. Robbie Knox, Tramp, another one, Fixtures Man and all that.
Yeah.
We had the real good like little team of performers, and then you had the
Was
ones
it good?
that didn't want to
Go on,
do
mate.
it.
Yeah. Was it good socially as well then, like the outside of work life?
Yeah, to be honest, there were some great socials. We didn't really spend weekends together because we were so knackered on the Saturday.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, of course.
Go home and sleep. But there were times where we got to go to cool gigs. Like I went to Noel Gallagher's 40th birthday party. That's like
that's a bucket list.
That's not bad, is it?
Had a dance off with Davy Williams. Had a wee next to Paul Weller and Liam Gallagher, and I'm in the middle, just like
brilliant.
James Corden was there. There was loads and it was just like one of those moments where you're like, this is mad. And going to parties with Kasabian when they're at the peak and just being part of their like entourage, and it was just like a different world. I'll tell you one of the coolest things that I did actually was as part of like the Soccer AM team was play at the new Wembley when Wembley got demolished and rebuilt. We played in the very first game. There was us, Son, and someone else, and I set up, I believe, the first ever goal to be scored at the new Wembley from a corner. Stuck the ball. Yeah. And, I think Lovejoy.
Even that, that's brilliant.
I think DJ Spoony put it away. But yeah, great.
That's class.
And one thing that I've got to mention, one thing that is like a proper bucket list tick, I managed to score at Old Trafford. Played at Old Trafford. Like, what a dream come true.
Yeah. Did you give it a big celebration or?
I was just, do you know what?
Aaron Fellaini celebration, was it?
Yeah. It was, do you know, we had Wes Brown on our team and Park, and it was made up of like influencers. And I got the nod to play, and just scoring that goal. We just sat perfectly and just stuck it like pretty much. And I was just like, done it.
That's quality. You mentioned there quite a lot of famous people in that. Would you be able to tell us a story about your best and worst guests that appeared on the show? Have you got a iconic story for both?
I always say this: we had so many great guests, like from Ray Winston, Gazza was always good, Stephen Graham. There were so many like regulars, like Razor was always good, but there's one that stood out for me because in my eyes he was like a proper like American A-lister, and we'd had a few Americans on. Well, I say A-lister, probably not A-lister, but anyway. Mr. T came on, right, from the A-Team. A lot of your viewers won't know who that is, but Mr. T, famous for ain't getting on no plane, and that those catchphrases, right? We had some Americans come on before, and they were like, say if they were in Star Wars or something, as an example, they'd be like, right, I don't want to talk about the Star Wars, any Star Wars films. I only want to talk about the new stuff I'm doing. So I want to concentrate on this. And we'd be like, hold up, you're famous for being Star Wars. Like, we're going to talk about that. Mr. T came into the set, and he was just like larger than life, really bubbly character. Had time for everyone and anyone. Photos. He was getting up in the ad breaks and going to speak to the audience and doing his catchphrases and getting doing like it was like a one-man show. I was like, this guy's next level. Like he knows how to, he knows what we want, and he delivered. Then you have not bad, but Meatloaf, right? I don't want to cuss it because he's not with us any longer. But he completely took over the show. And bearing in mind, we'd spent the whole week getting VTs ready, features. We put a lot of work into the show to make it the best it can be. He wouldn't shut up. He was on the sofas. He was round the back. He was going, hey, what's this? What's this? Just completely like, when someone's just like, it starts off funny. And then after
it's annoying, isn't it?
about 10 minutes, you're like, we're just having to drop feature after feature. All I'm hearing in my headset is Nutmeg File's gone, Showboat gone.
Oh.
You know, all the sketches, the gags gone.
Yeah. And like you said, you've been working on that, not personally, you've
Working
been working all week, and then suddenly this boat comes on.
Yeah, and you just kind of took over. But it was good. It was good and bad. It was good because it made a different, like everyone was just like, I think social media went mad. It was still quite early, but everyone was like, oh my God, we were like trending Soccer AM, Meatloaf on Soccer AM, which is what he wanted. But yeah, it was a bit much. And then the only other time was Mel B. She was actually doing Harry Strikers, and she didn't like it. It was like a cigar joke. And she basically walked off during the show and went, "Oh, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go and get some chicken." She didn't come back, and we had like a whole part of questions to ask her. She just left.
Oh, dear.
So,
that was it. She was gone. That was the end of Melbourne.
Halfway through, she's like, "No, I'm done with this show. I'm gone."
Oh, dear.
So there were quite a few moments where you're like, "Okay, now what? What do we do now?"
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's perfect. Have you got anything else to add on Soccer AM there, Jack? Or
no, good. Yeah, I loved it. All the nice little stories and little bits.
So after 19 years, Rocket, you decided to go into a new career path after Soccer AM. Can you tell us what your next path was, or what was your next job you chose to do?
Yeah, so 19 years anywhere is a long time. Obviously, I loved my Soccer AM, but I think in any job you get to a point where maybe opportunities are drying up, or you feel like you've reached the kind of ceiling of what you're going to do at that place. And I really wanted to move over to the social media team and be the bridge between the social team and the Soccer AM team, because they were two completely, even though they were called the same thing, they were two completely different entities, and it wasn't marrying up. So I went to the guys at Sky and said, "Look, I still want to be involved, but let me go over to the social team, because I just give me a camera and an editor a week, and I'll go and produce features. Like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I've been there doing it. I know what works." And they went, "There's not a role for you to do that. There's no job vacancy for you to do that." I said, I basically said, "Well, I'm going to try and look for something else then." And I don't think they believed that I would. And then, strangely, I got a DM that day from a guy that owned Joe Media. Don't know if you know the social platform Joe.
Yeah.
He messaged me saying, "Are you happy at Soccer AM?" And I put, "Not really." He went, "Let's have a beer." And next thing I know, we've had a chat, and he said, "Come over and work for us as a producer." So I went over and produced the show called Total Techers, which was like a 5-minute show where just got like celebrities on, did like a few skill challenges, and it actually managed to win a British Media Award off the back of that. So I was well chuffed with that, and did 3 years at Joe, and then company went into administration. So I was then at like the start of the pandemic without a job. So I had a year without work, which is probably the hardest year of my life, because I've got a new family, a house that I need to pay a mortgage on. I thought I was going to lose everything basically, and it was like a real tough year. And then managed to get a job at Give Me Sport, who own the largest sports Facebook page in the world, and they said, "Come along and do a bit for us." Half the salary I was on, but I just had to get a job, and then did a year there. And then MOLA, the company I worked for, actually, funny enough, it wasn't MOLA, it was Dean Saunders, ex-Liverpool legend Dean Saunders, called me up and went, "Rocket, what are you doing? Do you want to come and produce a show for me?" I was like, "Sounds good. It's going to be difficult that while I'm doing what I'm doing now." And then the following day, got on a call with the main guys at MOLA, and they said, "Kind of how much to get you over?" Which I was like, just put on the spot. I don't know. I don't know what to say for that. And then next thing I know, I'm in the door and I'm producing content for MOLA. Which
is MOLA? Sorry, is MOLA is it a TV channel? Is it a YouTube channel? What is it? A subscription?
Yeah. So MOLA, they're based in Indonesia.
Right.
They're a streaming platform, a bit like a Netflix, but they're massive in Indonesia and Malaysia. They have started to branch out into the UK and Italy. So they're kind of a global brand, and they're just looking to kind of put the MOLA flag in. They had the Premier League rights till a couple of years ago. They seem to have a bit of cash, and they want to make good shows, good content. So I've been there for just over a year now, and a couple of the shows that I've worked on, Pub Talk with Ray Parler and Alan Brazil, and managed to get the likes of Tyson Fury, Noel Gallagher, Piers Morgan. I've had some real big names come on the shows, turned them into podcasts and YouTube shows. They seem to been going quite well. Having a little pause at the moment, and we're going to bring it back. Dean Saunders show, Soccer SOS, yet to air, but got some great stuff from the show. It's brilliant.
We've had a look at your Instagram as well. We've seen you been doing some stuff with MMA as well.
So that's what I'm currently doing. I'm currently working on an MMA fight academy. So the Dean Saunders show is about getting struggling Sunday league pub teams who are like bottom of the league, about to get relegated. Dean has a week to turn them around. So we have 2 training sessions, takes them out for a curry, chats to the lads, gets into like why they play for the team, like a bit of mental health, but mainly just having a bit of fun. 26-minute show, and it's jam-packed full of funny bits. And we watch the game on the Sunday, watch them lose, and then 2 training sessions, a night out, and then the final game on the Sunday where they must win. It's a must-win. They've lost like 20 games in a row, and then it's game. So that's a really good show. And then MMA Fight Academy, which I'm working on currently. It's based in San Diego, so I'm going back out next week for 2 weeks. Went out for 3 weeks. Paddy the Baddies over there. We've got Cage Warriors. So we've teamed up with Cage Warriors, who are like a feeder to the UFC. And what they're doing is they're scouting the best fighters from Italy, Indonesia. Like we did tryouts in Bali, so I went over to Bali for a week.
How bad is it?
Oh, mate, it was unbelievable. Saw all these fighters doing the tryouts, and then they kind of handpicked their favourite 6. Did tryouts, European tryouts in London. Invited the Italians over and some of the English boys, and out of that they picked 12. So they ended up with like 20 odd lads, and they're going through a 3-month extensive training camp where they're learning from the best, learning from Paddy, learning from these great coaches, really being put through their paces. They're getting paid to be out there. And then at the end of the 3 months, they all get a fight. And if they win the fight, they get a pro MMA contract with Cage Warriors and a share of $50,000.
Yeah, very good.
So it's quality. It's really heating up at the moment. As I say, it'll be like the final 2 weeks before their fights. And we've got some real quality fighters there, like some real hungry lads.
Do you fancy it in the ring or?
Oh, mate, this honestly, I'd last seconds. You have to be so fit. It's not. First of all, you've got to be able to take a punch, which I've got glass jaw. There's no way I'm taking a punch. And then you've just got to be so physically fit, because it's the grappling and the wrestling, getting yourself into a position where you can land strikes. It's so technical. I don't think people understand how technical it is and the discipline that comes with it. Because when going into it, I was like a bit of a UFC fan, but didn't really know much. I knew Conor McGregor. That was probably about the extent. And I thought it was quite thuggish, a sport, going into it, because it's like people knocking 10 bells of shit out of each other, like elbows and fists. And it wasn't until I actually got into the camp and I saw the level of respect that everyone has for them, like bowing before they go on the mat, and and the training. These lads are properly going at it, kicking each other, and then the timer goes, they're like shaking hands, and like, how do you keep your head?
Yeah, how can you do that?
But honestly, now I watch it and I see fights where like matey's been knocked out, and they'll stop straight away, and they'll put their arm around you. You're right. It's like, obviously there are some that don't, but it's fascinating sport, because it can be over in seconds. So it's like I've learned a lot doing this show. So that's what I love about this job, right? As long as I'm learning and doing and like evolving and adding like feathers to a cap where I can kind of just better myself as a producer, then I'm happy. All the times that I'm stagnant or feel like I'm standing still or even regressing, going backwards, that's when my mental health starts to take a bit of a knock. That's what I had the last couple of years of Soccer AM. I felt like I wasn't progressing. I'd gone backwards. I wasn't like being challenged. It was kind of just going back to doing the basics. And that's when I start to kind of get down. Now, I've got a buzz because we're producing great content. We've got I'm in and amongst it, and I'm learning how to put together a reality TV show, which I've never done. So it's all a massive learning curve for me. And hopefully I can continue learning and you know, doing cool things.
Yeah, you got. I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. Sorry, Tate, but yeah, do you think you're like, from the old days, and like you said, the Gallagher brothers and whatever else do you think you could work with people you've had in the past, or you've got plans to meet people and do things?
The good thing about being around those guys at a young age, that when they do come on the likes of Pub Talk, where I'm producer, straight away they're like, fucking hell, I didn't realize you were doing this, Rocket.
Yeah.
And straight away they're at ease. They're like, I'm in like not good hands, but they're familiar. It's a familiar setting. They know that I'm not going to stitch them up. They know that I'm going to make them look as good as I possibly can. And I think that enables us to get a lot more at their guard comes down. You know, Vinny Jones, for example, right? I've met Vinny numerous occasions, and he's always have a bit of a laugh. And he came on to talk about the passing of his wife. And honestly, fucking hell, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Like everyone in the gallery was just bawling because it was so sad. And I feel like we have minimal people in the studio. We just have Alan and Ray. I'm in both their ears, kind of giving them follow-up questions, trying to make sure they stick to some kind of script. And yeah, I think like Vinny really opened up in that interview because he felt like he was amongst mates and friends, and it was like where no one's gonna like ridicule him or try and trip him up, or it was kind of like he just poured his heart out, and we were like, oh, like this is one of the hardest guys in football, Vinny fucking Jones, and like movie star, and he's coming in and he's being so open and honest about his feelings. It was a real breath of fresh air for everyone.
And then you forget that you're actually creating a TV program or it's going out on the internet. It's that
we're filming. It's like, you're so like, wow.
In the moment, I guess.
Yeah, you just kind of like, bloody hell, this is real powerful stuff. So yeah, that was I definitely feel like it helped kind of being around these, and also it helped me in how I speak to them as well. You know, if I hadn't had that upbringing on Soccer AM where I was surrounded by A-listers, I'd probably been a lot more nervous when going through questions with people like Noel Gallagher, because he's so iconic and such a legend and a big fan of his music. If I hadn't have met him prior, I'd have probably been a bit like, is this okay? Is this okay? Whereas I felt like I was just chatting to a mate, going, right, no, is this cool? You happy with this? It was just a lot more chilled.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
No, you mentioned there earlier that MOLA TV was a streaming platform, and obviously you mentioned a few of the shows you've been doing, and it all sounds fantastic. How can the listeners in the UK watch it? Is it on app, is it, or can you watch it on your smart TV? Or
it's difficult at the moment because how we do it at MOLA is we make the shows and then we try and find a platform to put them on, or a brand to kind of sponsor it or like endorse it or whatever. So we make the content and then we kind of tout it out. So the Pub Talks went on YouTube because we were still trying to work out a strategy, and they all sat on YouTube, got big numbers, and they've kind of they've been brought down for now because we want to see if we can get someone else to take them on. So yeah, we have a MOLA app which you can watch, but there's not much content on there for a UK audience as of yet. We're kind of working on it, so it's still early days. But eventually, you know, we'll have Soccer SOS on there. We'll have the MMA Fight Academy on there. At the moment, the MMA Fight Academy is very much social based, and we are going to have episodes that sit on the MOLA platform. So if you are interested in watching the full eps, I would suggest downloading the MOLA app, creating a login. It's free. It's free to do in the UK. It costs money in Indonesia, and I think it might be in Italy, but at the moment it's free. So yeah, definitely sign up, have a look at MOLA, and then there's good content coming.
Perfect.
Love it.
Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Jack? Or
No, all good. Yeah, sounds very good, and no, I'm happy, mate. Yeah,
that's perfect. I think we've
so third episode, lads. How did that compare? Was it all right?
Been brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. Loved it. Yeah, been good.
So we had one final question, Rocket. I don't know if you've had any talks behind the scenes about one final appearance on Soccer AM, but for the final show. But did you think you'll return for one last dance off?
I don't think they'll do it. Honestly, I don't think they'll do it. Would people want it? I feel like sometimes those things are better left in the memory.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Very true.
When you try to recreate stuff, it's very easy to go, well, that fell a bit flat, didn't it? I didn't really work. What's funny is I remember everyone has rose tinted glasses when they remember Soccer AM for a lot of it was a bit naff in places.
Mm.
But people remember it for the good bits.
Mm.
So sometimes
You remember, yeah, exactly. You remember your dance off, your whatever moments happen.
Yeah.
You don't remember the 3 hours after it or before it, whatever. Yeah.
No, it's yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's best left. I don't think the thing is there's so much changed over the years with Soccer M as well. Like you had your Lovejoy era with Helen, Benners and Cheaphead and Robbie and Tubes and me, and then it changed. Then it was like the Max Rushton, Helen Chamberlain era, where it was a bit more wacky, a bit more childish, which I didn't want, but it was kind of like I was in or I was out, so I kind of went along with it. And then it kind of changed again when Fenders took over, and it became a lot more about the music and a bit more old school Soccer M in a way, more about the guests and the drills and the things that Bullard did. And so you got 3 very completely different shows.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to merge those 3 for a final show, if you know what I mean. Like I can't see it happening. But I'll definitely be watching the last show though. If it is,
of course. Yeah.
Not been 100% confirmed that it's definitely going to be last. If it is, yeah, I mean, what a journey. 28 years, 29 years of doing soccer band that long.
Yeah.
A long time.
It's a good effort. It's a very good effort, yeah.
So not looking likely to get a 7th star then. I tattooed.
Definitely not. I'm married with kids now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, I started when I was 15. It's all right busting those moves out when you're 19. You know, there's one where I jumped through my leg. Like I had to hold on to one leg, jump through it the other, doing like pulling myself up by the back of my shirt and spinning. You know, those days are gone, lads.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Right. Now, thank you very much for coming on the show. The listeners will absolutely enjoy that. Love the
they will love it.
Do that.
Absolutely love it.
We'll drop all your socials down below, but if you just wanted to say them out loud for the listeners that are listening, then we'll tag you in all the content and whatever.
Yeah, I'll let you boys do that.
So everyone can follow you down below and whatnot. No, that'd be fantastic. Anything else, Jack?
No, perfect. Loved it. Thanks for coming on again. Yeah. And I'm sure everyone listening and watching, I'm sure they've absolutely loved it as well. So yeah, appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Rocket.
Nice one,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.